is now open. Please be seated.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. For the record before the court is the continuation of the trial of the Commonwealth versus Edwin J. Alemany on indictment 2013-11163. The defendant is present with counsel Michelle Hubbard, Jeffrey Denner, and Joseph Keller, and the Commonwealth is represented by Assistant District Attorney Jack Hillman and John Pappas. The jury is not present.
Counsel, good morning.
Good morning.
A few things before the jury comes down, perhaps?
Yes.
Mr. Denner?
There was just we have made a compilation of what we consider an accurate summary of the hospitalization and psychiatric treatment he received over time. I've showed it that the government, we're deleting what they would like deleted, which I think is correct. We haven't deleted that yet. And we're going to, I'll probably ask Dr. Albo to look at this and tell me it's an accurate and fair representation of the summary treatment as he sees it. And I will probably move that into evidence.
Yeah, summary charts are visible.
But there's a paragraph of Mr. Denner's narrative that I'm objecting to. In what if
it's deleted?
It hasn't been deleted yet, but it will be whited out when we come to
all right, I'll admit it's subject to redaction.
May I speak to the clerk?
Sure.
If we could just follow that.
Yes, if you guys need it, I'll make copies of it.
I think that white out is
I have one. If you really can, we take.
Anything else before the jury comes down?
I don't think so, Your Honor.
Let's bring the jury down, please.
Judge Frank Gagliano, Justice of the Superior Court, now sitting at Boston, within and for the County of Suffolk. Draw near, give your attendance, and you shall be heard. God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and this honorable court. Court is now open. Please be seated.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. For the record before the court is the continuation of the trial of the Commonwealth versus Edwin J. Alemany on indictment 2013-11163. Defendant is present with counsel Michelle Hubbard, Jeffrey Denner, and Joseph Keller. The Commonwealth is represented by Assistant District Attorneys John Pappas and Zachary Hillman, and there are 15 jurors present.
Good morning, members of the jury. Did anybody have any difficulty following my legal instructions from yesterday? No affirmative answers. We have Mr. Ross, please.
Judge Ross.
Remind you that you remain under oath from yesterday. Do you understand?
Yes.
Thank you.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
May I resume, Your Honor?
Yes.
Good morning, Mr. Ross.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Good.
Mr. Ross, just picking up where we left off yesterday. stain 3 from the right collar of the shirt and stain 6 from the right thigh area of the pants.
Yes.
Were there other stains? Were there other stains that you tested from the shirt and the pants?
There were, yes.
Okay. And just generally, what were the results?
There were two other stains tested from the shirt, 3 other stains tested from the pants. Kaylee Ballantyne was included as the source of DNA from those stains.
Okay. And when you say she was included, was the source male or female?
The source was female.
And was it a single source?
Yes, it was.
Regarding the stains that you testified to yesterday, the RBS from the sidewalk 55 Telegraph Street and the RBS from the sidewalk of 47 Gate Street, were there any other stains that you tested from Gates or Telegraph Street?
I don't believe there were any stains from the street. I tested a napkin from that scene. It was a stain from the napkin. Kaylee Ballantyne was included as the source of the DNA from the stain from that napkin.
And again, was that a single source?
It was a single source, yes.
I had asked you some questions yesterday about the crime lab case number 130536. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And relative to that case number, did you ever receive anything from the crime lab relative to swabs of fingernails from Amy Lord?
Yes.
And could you describe the swabs that you received from her fingernails?
Sure. So I received one swab taken from fingernail clippings from Amy Lord's left hand and another swab of fingernail clippings taken from Amy Lord's right hand.
Were those submitted for DNA testing?
They were, yes.
And what were the results?
Amy Lord was included as the source of the DNA profile from both swabs from the fingernails.
Okay. And when you say she was included with it, was that a single source?
They were single source, yes.
And what about swabs from Edwin Alemany? Did you receive any swabs from the fingernails of Edwin Alemany?
Yes.
Could you describe those, please?
Yes. I also received a swab from Edwin Alemany's left hand fingernail clippings and also a swab from Edwin Alemany's right hand fingernail clippings.
What were the results, please?
Edwin Alemany was included as the source of the DNA from both of those swabs. They were both single source samples.
Did you do any testing relative to Boston Police Crime Lab case number 13-0538?
Yes.
Are you familiar with item 79, sir?
Yes, I am.
And Mr. Ross, what was item 79?
Item 79 was a vaginal swab taken from a sexual assault kit.
Okay. And with respect to that swab, did you test it for DNA?
I did, yes.
And did you test it, did you compare it against any known references?
Yes, the DNA profile was compared to all of the known references that we tested.
And what were your known references, Mr. Ross?
I had an oral swab from Edwin Alemany, a blood stain from Amy Lord, an oral swab from Kaylee Ballantyne, an oral swab from Alexandra Cruz, and an oral swab from Michael Castle.
And what were the results of your DNA testing relative to that swab?
The vaginal swab was a mixture. So like I was explaining yesterday, at each location in a single source sample, we're only going to see 2 DNA characteristics, one from mom, one from dad. In a mixture, I'm seeing more than 2 DNA characteristics. Therefore, more than one person has to have contributed to that sample. For the vaginal swab, we had what's considered a major contributor. So in a mixture, sometimes we have one person that's contributing a high amount of DNA and one person that's contributing a lower amount of DNA. In this case, the major contributor, Michael Castle, was included as the possible major contributor to that sample. We then look at the entire mixture and determine who could be included in that whole mixture. Michael Castle and Amy Lord were included in the mixture, the entirety of the mixture profile. Edwin Alemany was excluded, Alexandra Cruz was excluded, and I apologize, what was the other oral swab that I have? Edwin Alemany, Alexandra Cruz, and I apologize. Real quick. Kaylee Ballantyne, I apologize, was also excluded from that sample.
Okay. Relative last question with respect to 130538. Are you familiar with what item 40 was?
Let me just review my notes. 40. Yes, I am.
And what was that, sir?
That was a Newport cigarette butt.
And did you perform any DNA testing on that Newport cigarette butt?
We did, yes.
And what were the results?
That was a single source profile. All of the oral swabs, or all of the reference samples that I had, Amy Lord, Edwin Alemany, Kaylee Ballantyne, Michael Castle, and Alexandra Cruz were all excluded from the DNA on the cigarette butt.
Okay, I want to go back to case number 130536. Did you have occasion to receive any swabs or do any testing relative to swabs collected from item 22?
Yes.
And what was item 22?
Item 22 was a pair of shoes.
And, generally, Mr. Ross, could you please just take a look at this board that I placed in front of you? This board that I placed in front of you, and I'd ask you if you recognize what's depicted on this board.
Yes, this is my DNA table of results for items from swab, or from stains from item 22, the shoes.
And relative to this particular board, how many stains are depicted on this board that you tested?
5 stains are on this table of results.
And the photographs that appear in the middle of this board, do you recognize what the photographs depict?
Yes, the photographs depict the stains that I tested for DNA.
And you've seen this board prior to testifying today?
Yes.
And does it also capture your results of the DNA testing you did on the 5 stains that you just referenced?
Yes.
May this be marked as the next numbered exhibit, Your Honor?
Exhibit 269, so marked, Your Honor.
Preliminarily, let me ask you this, Mr. Ross. Exhibit number 269, does this capture all the stains from item 22 that were submitted for DNA testing?
It does not.
And exhibit number 269 captures how many stains, sir, from those shoes?
5 stains.
Okay. Do you recall off the top of your head how many stains total, excluding those 5? Let me ask you this. Do you recall how many additional stains were submitted for DNA testing, not including those 5?
Yes, there were 23 additional stains on top of these 5 stains.
And with respect to 22 of those stains, did you test them?
Yes.
And what were the results on 22 of the stains?
22 of the stains were what would be considered a single source sample. Only one person contributing to the sample. And Edwin Alemany was included as the source of the DNA on 22 of the stains. Amy Lord, Kaylee Ballantyne, Alexandra Cruz, and Michael Castle were all excluded from those stains.
And with respect to the 23rd stain, do you recall what item 34 was?
Yes.
What was that?
That was stain 7.
Okay. And did you test stain 7?
I did.
And what were the results of that test?
That sample was a mixture. There was a major contributor. As I was saying, we can have samples where there's a major contributor, somebody contributing a lot of DNA to a sample, and then somebody contributing a small amount of DNA to a sample. In this case, there was a major contributor. Edwin Alemany was included as the major contributor on that sample. There were 2 extra DNA characteristics in total in the entire rest of the mixture. Amy Lord, Kaylee Ballantyne, Alexandra Cruz, and Michael Castle were excluded from the DNA profile.
And with respect to exhibit number 269, did you wind up testing those 5 stains, 33, 5, 27, 10, and 25 from the shoes?
Yes.
With the court's permission, may Mr. Ross step down, Your Honor?
Yes.
First of all, could you just, with respect to exhibit number 269, describe the top, middle, and bottom portions of the exhibit?
Yes. So these 5 rows here represent the 5 stains from the shoes. In the middle here we have pictures of those stains from the shoes, and in the bottom here we have 3 reference samples. The blood stain from Amy Lloyd, the oral swab from Edwin Alemany, and an oral swab from Kelly Ballard.
And relative to the tables themselves, are those set up the same way you described yesterday's exhibit that depicted blood stains and stains from clothing?
Yes.
Exhibit number 268, I believe.
Yes.
Mr. Ross, I'd like you to start going from bottom to top, starting with stain 33, and go, if you could line that up with the photographs going from right to left and explain that chart for the jury and what the results of your testing were.
Sure. So, item number 130536, that's the case number, item number 59, was an RBS stain, number 33, on the left side of the left shoe. That's represented here in this picture. Stain 33 is right here. Small red stain. So the first thing I do is look at the entirety of the profile. This would be what's considered a mixture sample. More than one person contributing to this sample. We can see at this D16 S539 location, you can see a 9 characteristic, a 12 characteristic, and an 11 characteristic. Now, like I said, in a single source sample, you're going to be expected to see 2 DNA characteristics, one from mom and one from dad. When I see 3, that means that more than one person has to be contributing to that sample. And you'll see across the board there are a number of locations where there are more than 2 DNA characteristics.
What was previously eyes for identification is now exhibit 306. Excuse me, if you want to take this, what number is the last number I pre-marked? Thank you.
Sergeant McLaughlin, I just want to ask you regarding Mr. Alemany's statement. You had the opportunity to review it.
I did, yes.
And what's your recollection of or what, if anything, did he say about his whereabouts in the early morning hours of July 23rd, 2013?
Your Honor, if we could just, with more specification, we're talking about the post-arresting interview.
July 24th, when he was interviewed by Detective Sheehan and Cecil at headquarters on July 24th, 2013.
Yes, okay. Did you say the early morning hours?
Yes.
Okay. He stated that he was at home at 331 East 8th Street, that he had slept there and stayed there all night.
Now, I had previously asked you some questions and showed you certain photographs regarding a motor vehicle. Do you recognize the sequence of six photos and the photo in the middle on this particular board?
Yes, I do.
And what do you recognize these photographs to be starting at the 12 o'clock position, sir?
This is starting at the 12 o'clock position. It's the Mount Washington Bank. Going clockwise, it's the Metro Credit Union. It's the footage from the Sovereign Bank, the camera at Gordon Avenue in Hyde Park at 7:05, Washington Street by the Best of Boston Gas at 8 o'clock, 8 a.m. and 27 seconds, and ending with Logan Way, the vehicle heading into the McCormick Projects at 8:30:11.
And are these fair and accurate representations of those photographs captured from the video as they appear on this board?
Yes, they are.
May this be marked as the next number exhibit, Your Honor?
Exhibit 307, so marked, Your Honor.
Referencing exhibit number 307, Sergeant McLaughlin, time-wise, what is the last photograph in that sequence?
It's the Logan Way photograph at 8:30 and 11 seconds.
Okay. And Logan Way, the location depicted in that particular photograph, how far away is that from Sterling Square?
About a couple hundred yards.
I want to show you a sequence of photographs. I asked you some questions about you being present in the exam bay.
Yes.
What date was that?
That was on the 25th, July 25th.
What was going on in the exam bay on July 25th?
The processing of the victim's Jeep.
And who was there that was responsible for the processing?
Myself, the crime lab, the latent print unit, the members of the fire investigation unit, and the Mass State Police fire investigation unit.
And were you supervising the processing, sir?
Yes, I was.
I want to show you a sequence of photographs marked by agreement previously, exhibits 298 through 305, and ask you to take a look at those, sir. Do you recognize these photographs?
I do, yes.
And what do you recognize them to be?
I recognize them to be photographs taken during the processing of the victim's Jeep at Boston Police Headquarters.
And are they fair and accurate representations of that processing that took place on that date?
Yes, they are.
I would offer 298 through 305 as the next numbered exhibit, Your Honor. Just with respect to 298, what is that a photograph of, sir?
This is a photograph of the partially burnt registration for Mass 521 SH2 belonging to Amy Lord at 124 Dorchester Street.
And I want to show you this sequence of photographs. First of all, I'll direct your attention to exhibit number 302. Do you recognize what's depicted in that photograph?
Yes, I do.
And what do you recognize that to be?
This is a photo of a paint can which is used by the arson investigators to collect debris from within the vehicle. This is the debris collected at location number 1, according to their numbering. So the debris is placed inside the paint can, clean paint can, it's closed, and it's brought to the State Police Lab for testing for accelerants.
And how many cans total were collected?
There were 4 cans total.
And what was collected and placed in the 4 cans while you were there during the processing of the motor vehicle?
They collect debris and rubble from that particular area and place it inside the can.
Okay, and when you're saying from that particular area, you're talking about an area in the car that was being processed?
Yes, there were 4 distinct areas that debris was collected from within the vehicle.
And where were those cans sent?
They were sent to the Mass State Police crime lab.
And were the contents of each can tested?
Yes.
And with respect to the contents of each can, what was detected?
The gasoline was detected as the accelerant in each location.
Okay. Gasoline or a gasoline residue, sir?
Gasoline residue, correct.
Now, I had just asked you a question with respect to exhibit number 307, the last photograph in that sequence on Divine Way. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
I want to show you what's previously been marked in this case as M for identification. Do you recognize this, sir?
Yes, I do.
And just generally, what do you recognize this is depicted on this board, M for identification?
In the middle is a map of the area depicting Logan Way, Rotary Variety, Rotary Liquors, Tedeschi, and the South Boston Auto Repair, which is where the video from Divine Way was recovered. On the right-hand side, going clockwise, are several photos, starting with the Rotary Liquors, Rotary Variety, a photo of the sticker on the back, which then is connected to the 2 Divine Way photos, a photo of the registration of the vehicle, the license plate, an overall aerial photo of the intersection of Sterling Way and Logan Way. And then lastly, Tedeschi's video is the final photo.
And I just want to direct your attention to the still photographs on item M for identification at this point, Sergeant McLaughlin. With respect to the Tedeschi's, Rotary Liquors, and Rotary Variety, what date were those stills captured from?
On July 23rd.
And what about the two bottom photographs in the middle? What date was that collected?
Also July 23rd.
And are these fair and accurate representations of the stills that you've reviewed prior to testifying today in the areas that are captured on M for identification?
Yes, they are.
May this be marked for the next number to clear.
What was previously in for identification is now Exhibit 308, Your Honor.
Sergeant McLaughlin, on how many occasions were you in the area of the streets depicted on exhibit number 308, subsequent to July 23rd of 2013?
I've been on them many times. I can't tell you exactly how many.
And were you there enough times in that area to give the jury a general idea of the distance from Tedeschi's to Sterling Square?
Yes, it's a very short walk. I would say maybe a 3 or 4 minute walk.
And what about the distance from Tedeschi's to Rotary Liquor and Rotary Variety?
About the same thing.
Based on your role in this investigation, sir, did you have the opportunity at some point to review video footage from Domino's on Old Colony Avenue in South Boston?
Yes, I did.
And just handing you this particular photograph, sir, do you recognize the area captured in that photograph?
Yes, I do.
And what do you recognize that area to be?
This is Old Colony Ave in front of the Domino's. So as you're looking at it, Old Colony going towards downtown is at the top of the screen, and Old Colony to the right of the picture is heading towards Dorchester Street.
And what's the timestamp on that photograph, sir?
3:54:23.
May this be marked as the next numbered exhibit, Your Honor?
Yes.
Exhibit 309, so marked, Your Honor.
And Sergeant McLaughlin, just showing you for a moment Exhibit 309 on the monitor. How many individuals appear on Exhibit 309?
2.
Lastly, sir, I want to show you these two photographs that have previously been marked Exhibits 75 and 83. Do you know, first with respect to exhibit number 75, what area of the city is depicted in that particular photograph?
This is the front of the Bell's Market on Dorchester Street in South Boston.
And secondly, with respect to exhibit number 83, do you recognize the area depicted in that particular photograph?
Yes, I do.
What area is that?
That is also the front of Bell's Market on Dorchester Street in South Boston.
Sergeant McLaughlin, I want to show you this sequence of 5 photographs on the board before you. Starting with the top 2, do you recognize the area depicted in the top 2 photographs?
Yes, that's the front sidewalk in front of Bell's Market in South Boston.
Okay. And with respect to these particular photographs, do you know where they originated from?
Yes, I do.
Where was that?
From the video retrieved from Bell's Market,
In capturing what date?
capturing July 23rd of 2013
At what time of the day?
at about 5:15 a.m.
And with respect to the bottom three photographs, sir, do you recognize those three photographs?
I do, yes.
And what do you recognize them to be?
Those are photographs taken from the bank video, the stills taken from the bank video at Mount Washington Bank, located at 501 Southampton at about 6:03 and 7:23:13.
And are these fair and accurate representations of the stills that were generated from those videos?
Yes, they are.
May this be my exhibit, Your Honor.
Exhibit 310, so marked.
Just directing your attention for a moment to exhibit number 310. The timestamp on the top two photographs, can you see it from there, Sergeant McLaughlin?
I know it's 5:15 a.m.
And as far as the bottom three, can you see the timestamp from there?
Again, I know it's 6:03 a.m.
And the area you described, Bell's Market in South Boston, where is that located?
Bell's Market is located on Dorchester Street.
And how far is the Bell's Market from the Mount Washington Bank that's depicted in the exhibit on the board now, on the easel now, excuse me?
I would say maybe an eighth of a mile or so, 4 or 5 minute walk.
Directing your attention for a moment to the statement that Mr. Alemany gave to Detectives Sheehan and Cecil on July 24th of 2013.
Okay.
What, if anything, did you review or did he say about his whereabouts roughly around midnight on July 23rd into the 24th of 2013?
He stated that he had left his house and went down to the Hess gas station to get a pack of cigarettes.
And what did he say happened there?
He said that he was assaulted by a black male in front of the Hess gas station and was stabbed in the hand.
And what opportunity, after listening to that statement on the July 24th, 2013 statement, what opportunity did you have to watch video or review video from the Hess gas station relative to the time frame that Mr. Alemany was discussing?
We retrieved video from that time frame, and I did review that and observed him approach that location. He did not have any altercation with anybody, and he entered into the location. You could see clearly while he was in there that he had his hand wrapped up with some type of a shirt or some type of something wrapped around his left hand.
You've been a police officer for how long, sir?
28 years.
Do you know what an incident history search is?
I do, yes.
What is that?
An incident history search is when you search a location you search by location to see if any incidents took place at that location, either through the CAD system or through incident reports.
And what steps, if any, did you check to see if there was an incident at the Old Colony Hess relative to what Mr. Alemany described in his interview to Detectives Sheehan and Cecil?
It was checked through the Boston Police CAD, 911 CAD system, and there was no incident reported.
And Mr. Jury, to the extent that we've discussed this before, a police officer is not able to affirmatively identify someone from a video. They can suggest things, they can show you the video. So to the extent that the Sergeant Detective has identified Mr. Alemany as the person at the Hess that walked in with no confrontations, please disregard the identity portion of that testimony.
And just yes or no, Sergeant McLaughlin, are you aware, based on your role in the investigation, of a Domino's pizza store located a short distance from the Hess gas station on Old Colony?
Yes, I am.
Did you have an opportunity to review any video from that particular location relative to the events Mr. Alemany described in his interview to Detectives Sheehan and Cecil regarding the Hess gas station?
Yes, I did.
And lastly, sir, are you familiar with 51 Telegraph Street?
I am, yes.
And relative to the event that Mr. Alemany described in his interview with Detectives Sheehan and Cecil, did you have the opportunity to review any video from 51 Telegraph Street?
Yes, I did.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
You know I'm Jeff Denny, you know I represent the defendant, yes?
Yes, sir.
Would it be fair to say, sir, that virtually all of the reasons he gave why he did not commit any of these crimes that he's charged with, virtually all the excuses he gave, alibis, where he was and wasn't, are ridiculous? Inaccurate.
Well, they're inaccurate. I guess, I don't know that I'd say ridiculous. They're inaccurate. Thank you, Ron.
Cromwell Press, Your Honor.
Break, so we can work all the way through. Rather than wait around, let's take the lunch break now. You have an hour for lunch. Come back, and then you're going to hear an opening statement from Mr. Denner and witness testimony all the way to 4 o'clock. Okay? So, again, do not discuss the case. We're just going to take an early lunch for now.
All rise. First, with your notepads on your chairs, and step down.
Hear all of the evidence, and I want to hear counsel's input, of course, on the instructions. But I just gave you a preliminary version of my instructions, so we can have a better dialogue when we talk about the instructions.
Thank you, Judge.
All right. Court stands in recess for 1 hour.
I'll see you in an hour.
All right.